Oh, something down here. Plus it's buried treasure.
I got some summonses I want to sort out this morning, all right?
Ah, just a bit of old carpet.
Tango Echo 14, confirm number 2929, Fitzhamon Embankment, over.
Tango Echo 14, that's correct, over.
Yes, noted, that's 14 en route.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Can I first of all apologise for keeping you working late this evening, but let me tell you that at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, down at Fitzhamon Embankment, some workmen were in the rear gardens of numbers 27 to 29 digging down to find some drainage when they uncovered a carpet. Regrettably, inside the carpet, there are what appears to be the remains of a human skeleton. The pathologist is down at the scene at the moment. We believe that it may be that of a female. We don't know how long it's been in the ground, but what I have to tell you is, and I don't want this disclosed outside, is the fact that the carpet is bound with flex, and over the skull of the skeleton is what appears to be a black bag. Therefore, I would tell you that it's vital at this stage that you get out down to Fitzhamon Embankment. I want every flat and house visited, and also those that overlook the rear garden where the skeleton was found. I know that it's a moving population, so it's important that you get into people straight away and try and find out as much information as you can.
Mrs. Leader?
Yes?
CID officers, can we have a word with you, please?
What can you do now?
Mrs. Leader, you're aware that a body has been found in the garden. I've been given your name by the builders. Can you tell me how long you've been living here?
About 13, 14 years.
Are you in a position to identify the other persons in the building?
Yes, I was caretaker here, and I used to go into all the rooms and empty the electric meters. There is a rent book, but there was no names in there, only the numbers of the rooms and dates.
But you believe from that rent book you would be able to assist us?
Yes, I could.
If I can just update you all, the remains are still with the pathologist. We have also recovered some hair, which is in the forensic science laboratory. Found on the skeleton are these articles that are displayed on the board. Now, we are going to have a tremendous task in respect of these, because what we have is a pair of urines which to the normal onlooker look quite ordinary, and therefore we have to try and trace where they came from. We have a brassiere, which has got a label attached to it. We have a sweat top, which has also got a label attached to it. We have a pair of knickers. We have another label. We have a sock. And we have a piece of the carpet that the body was wrapped in. It's vital to the inquiry for us to get a breakthrough to identify when these were manufactured, because that'll give us an indication of perhaps when the body was put into the ground. And in respect of the rest of the remains, we are going to get into as many experts as we can. The skull is on its way to Dr. Whittaker, the odontologist in Cardiff, who's first of all going to look at the teeth for us and see if he can give us the correct age of the girl.
The first thing that I did was to take some x-rays of all of the jaws and then detail of some of the teeth. We looked particularly at this area here, which is the developing wisdom tooth, and we've also made a big photograph of that. We can see that the crown of this wisdom tooth is complete, but the root hasn't developed here yet, so that gives an age of around about 15 years. And if we look at these roots here, these are not quite developed either, and that enabled me to tighten up the age a bit to 15.5 years at the time of death. And that was the best I could do at this stage of the investigation.
Stay one there.
Good morning. My name is Diana Zani from the CID in Cardiff. At the moment, we're making some inquiries into a suspicious death of a female. On the body, there was found some items of clothing, one of these being a pair of socks. I wonder if I could make some arrangements to come down and speak with you for some advice regarding this item of clothing. Yeah, that'll be lovely.
Hello, good morning. My name is Les Mumford from the Cardiff CID.
Morning, is that Levi Manufacturers?
We're investigating a suspicious death.
On the remains is one of your Levi Strauss sweat tops.
We found a pair of trousers bearing the label Carmen Gear.
We've recovered a piece of carpet with the body.
We need to try and find the year of manufacture. I wonder if you can help me. How do you do? You're the manager?
Yes, yeah.
We spoke earlier on the phone. I'm from the incident room at Fairwater.
Yeah?
I wonder if you can help me. We're trying to identify the label Carmen Gear.
Yeah?
Which we found on a pair of trousers.
Right, Jeff, how are we doing with the bra?
Well, the company has actually ceased trading, but a firm called Shadowline manufactured it.
Shadowline, where are they?
They're based at Grantham in Lincolnshire.
20 officers spent the best part of a month contacting shops and stores, first of all in Cardiff, then further afield around the Midlands and even America. Gradually it became clear that all the garments would have been available for sale during the very early 80s.
As far as the house-to-house is concerned, that hasn't been very fruitful. We've had much more success with the leaders, the other caretakers. As a result of their records, we've traced about a dozen people that lived in that basement flat.
Hello, we're police officers. Making some inquiries into the people that lived at 29 Fitzsalmon Embankment. I gather you've lived there?
Yeah.
Oh, Stuart, just the man I want. Can you top Neil and I up on the clothing, please?
Well, we've done pretty well with the clothing. There's lots of information coming in. As we know, it's mostly cheap stuff, not very good quality. But the dates, first manufacture, seem to be early 80s, particularly 1981. We found out that there were Cardiff outlets for the bra and the jeans, so I think we're probably looking at a local girl.
Right, I think from what you both say and what is now vital is that we run the clothing together with what the experts can tell us so that we can get a correct date or time when that body was put in the ground.
The police sent me some soil samples from the garden at Fitzsalmon Embankment for analysis. This is because the insects found in the soil can give an indication of how long ago death occurred. Now, the first things I found were the empty pupal cases, hundreds of them, of a fly called the forehead fly. These are the pupal cases that are left behind after the fly has emerged. For these insects to have consumed the body and totally skeletonized it would take about 3 years. In addition to these forehead flies, there were a large number of woodlice, present as all life stages, young ones and old ones. The presence of the woodlice on the skeleton, therefore, did suggest that a long time had elapsed for such a vigorous population to have developed. There were also a large number of beetles of a kind that would not attack the body until about 4 years after death. And all in all, the conclusion from this work suggested that death had occurred at least 5 years prior to discovery, and probably longer. It was not only possible to determine the time of death in this way, but also the probable time of year in which death occurred. This is because there were a few, less than 10, puparia or pupal cases of bluebottles. These insects will not lay their eggs on a buried body. They will only lay their eggs on an exposed dead body. And they will do this only at the time of year at which they are most active, in other words, the summer months.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Are you Diane then?
Yes, I am.
I'm with police officers from Fairwater Police Station. We're investigating a suspicious death at 29 Fitzsalmon Embankment.
Yes.
I believe you used to live in the basement flat there.
That's right, I did. It was years ago now.
Yeah, I wonder if we could ask you a couple of questions in relation to your stay there.
Yes, it can. Come in.
Hello, Alan Sheldon.
Yeah?
I'm Detective Sergeant Fenton, and this is DC Griffiths from the South Wales Police.
Yeah.
I understand you resided at the basement flat at number 29 Fitzhamon Embankment.
Yes, but it was years ago.
We're investigating a suspicious death, and we'd like to speak to all the residents living at those flats.
Can you tell me when you moved into Fitzhamon Embankment?
Around the mid-70s. It was when I met my husband.
What flat did you occupy?
The first floor flat.
How long were you in that flat?
Oh, until about 1979-80. It was just after the floods, and then we moved into the basement.
Regarding the basement flat, can you remember the carpet?
Yes, I remember it very well. I actually chose it myself. The owner showed me some samples, and I picked out one which matched my three-piece suite.
Thank you very much. We'll send somebody down to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
How are we doing with the residents, Dick?
Great at the moment. We've traced something like 100 residents, and the teams have been out and actually seen 70 of those persons.
Oh, good. What about the carpet?
Well, we've even managed to trace where the carpet was sold from, and Jeff is going down there later on today to further inquiry.
That's looking good, too.
Good morning.
After a week of searching through the store's old files, Jeff Norman's patience was rewarded when he found the original invoice for the purchase, dated the 6th of September 1980. And that led to the name of the man who fitted it.
Again, using this plan that I've got and some photographs that have been taken by residents, which I think might show some joins, I'd like you to tell me exactly how you'd go about fitting the carpet.
Right. Well, what you do, you see, is you take your first roll...
In a police hangar, precise measurements were drawn out.
Bring it backwards down by here. Then with your second piece of carpet, round this bit of staircase here.
The crucial question was what size the offcuts would have been.
Would you expect to have any pieces of carpet left over?
There'd be some scraps from the edges down by here and round the fireplace and that type of thing, yeah? And there'd be a bigger piece left, I'd say, about 6 foot by, say, 5 foot. And that'd be your biggest offcut that'd be left.
This is the piece of carpet that the body was found wrapped up in. It actually measures 6'2" by 4'8". You better use one of these, I think. Have a good look at this carpet now, and tell me whether you think it has ever been laid.
Well, to start off with, if you look to the top of the carpet, all right, you don't see any pressure points at all. No marks where furniture or chairs...
We were now sure that the carpet used to bury the remains had come from the basement flat, and it had probably been laid in about 1980. It was now a matter of checking the tenants of the properties from 1980 onwards. Because of the clothing that we had and the information from Dr. Whittaker and Dr. Zack, the time element was becoming now more distinctive. We were getting a feeling for her, a teenager. But to identify her was now the thing. Missing person records over the last 10 years were not very good. Neither were people's memories. It then came about, we heard of a man called Dr. Neve from Manchester University, a man who could make up a face from skulls.
The police sent me the skull that belonged to the skeleton found in Cardiff. And the first task is to make a cast of that skull, which is then mounted. Eyeballs, or simulated eyeballs, are placed into the eye sockets, and then the soft tissues of the face have to be developed in a very precise manner. And before starting that, holes are drilled into the plaster skull at 21 specific anatomical sites, and pegs inserted, and these indicate the average thickness of soft tissue that you're going to find. And at any one stage while the face is being built, the thickness of clay that is built onto it never goes above these points. Then, using this sort of material, the muscles around the eyes, which form a very specific pattern, those that form the muscles of the cheek are developed. Features like the lips and the eyes and the nose are critically important when trying to recognize anybody. It's not possible to make an exact portrait. 100% accuracy isn't possible. What we're trying to do is to produce a face which is going to be very similar to the kind of face that individual had when they were alive, and that when it's circulated in the right area, that somebody who knew that individual will have their memory jogged.
Richard Neve's artistry was now to be put to the test. Could anyone put a name to the face he'd so painstakingly reconstructed? It became the focus of a massive publicity campaign.
Hello? I recognise the picture in the paper.
Hello? I've seen the picture in the paper. I think it's Colin Price.
we were given about 20 names of possible people. Of that, one name cropped up twice, that of Karen Price. We were able to eliminate all the other people, so it was now a question of trying to trace Karen's dental records. This in itself was another massive effort, and it meant visiting all the dental places in Cardiff. At the end of the day, they visited one practice and came up with Karen's dental records. These were taken to Dr. Whittaker, the odontologist.
I'd made my own dental chart from the skull, and I compared that with the dental chart that the police had produced. Now, most of the details, in fact, matched, and so I was quite happy to determine that this, in fact, was the body of Karen Price. Now, another area of interest to me was to try to tighten up the age, and to do that I took a section of one of the teeth, cut a slice through it and looked it under the microscope. Now, I was surprised to find that inside the tooth, and you can see it here, there is apparently blood that has run out or been forced out into the little holes inside the tooth. And that isn't very common, and it strongly suggests that unfortunately Karen had died a violent death, and it was probably strangulation.
But Dr. Whittaker's evidence alone wouldn't be enough to identify Karen Price in a court of law. Dr. Erica Hagelberg, a research biochemist at Oxford University, had pioneered a technique for extracting DNA from decayed bone. The results of her work were then sent to Professor Alec Jeffreys, the inventor of DNA fingerprinting. A comparison with DNA from blood samples taken from Karen's parents proved beyond doubt that the victim was indeed Karen Price.
We now had our big breakthrough, the name Karen Price. It was now vital to the inquiry that we find out her background, how she ate, how she slept, how she dressed, etc., and how she spent her day. This would give us the key to the answers we wanted to find out how she'd come to her death.
From this point onwards, Karen's life story quickly began to emerge. She'd been in care since the age of 10. After her 15th birthday, she'd moved from a children's home to an assessment centre in Pontypridd. 2 months later, she disappeared. A social worker remembers her well.
On a mission, she was very immature for her age. She was unsure and to a degree shy. Desperate to be liked and wanting to make friends, both with staff and peers. As time went on, she started to make friends with the more delinquent type. She found it easier to fit in with their wants and likes. Karen loved clothes and music. She was very much a lonely girl who needed to have companionship more than anything else, I think. She needed love, definitely needed love, and that she didn't really know how to go about getting that. But one way was obviously friends, and she needed a friend.
Her best friend was a girl who we'll call Alison. Alison had shared a room with Karen at the children's home, and she'd also been with her at the assessment centre in the summer of 1981.
We used to sit and listen to records and just chat away. Gone really well.
Did you ever run away with her?
No, but we used to both run away kind of separately and sometimes see her.
Where would you meet her then?
Big Asties and around the bus station. Maybe have a coffee in Big Asties because we didn't really have much money. We used to go to the Chippy on Caroline Street and just eat there because it was cheap.
Anywhere else you used to go?
The XL restaurant. And we just used to hang around there together.
Karen frequently absconded and spent a lot of time in the Wood Street area of Cardiff. There is little doubt at this time that she was into the seedy world of street life and all that it brings to people.
But how and why was Karen killed? Police now knew for certain that she'd been buried during summer months. The clothes she'd been wearing were all for sale in the very early 80s, and the date she'd vanished from the assessment centre was the 2nd of July, 1981. But what had happened to her after that?
The going now becomes very tough indeed. We still don't have a cause of death, and we still don't know how that body came to be buried in the back garden of 29 Fitzhamon Embankment. At this stage of the inquiry, it would have been easy for me to tone it down, to go and see the coroner, to hold an inquest, to get the body identified, and probably cause of death unknown, and perhaps then the matter would have rested. But I think that everybody on the inquiry still wanted to find out how she had died, and so we had one iron left in the fire, and I decided that we'd contact the programme Crimewatch because I know they can reach people that the police cannot get to.
Run VT1. Title's running.
Marriage breakup.
8, 7.
Here on BBC One, Nick Ross and Sue Cook once again ask for your help in Crimewatch UK.
0.
Okay, we're on air. Be coming out to camera 3 next. Stand by with the lighting change. Then it'll be you, Nick, on 4.
That's on.
What's the problem?
20 seconds
but no
left for
picture.
BT.
No picture where? On the monitor?
Here it is. Thank you. It's got a dot.
Okay. Just a reminder to both VT1 and sound, Keith, to keep the sound going under the wide shot on 3.
5, 4.
Coming to the wide.
2, 1.
And mix. Lighting change. Lighting change.
We'd settled the children into bed. The 4 of us sat down in front of the telly ready to watch our regular monthly programme of Crimewatch, which we watched every month. I'd always dreamt of recognising somebody's face on there and, you know, sort of phoning up and saying, yeah, I know that man. But this was different. This one was certainly different. I didn't know anybody on that programme, but there I was sat next to somebody who had information that could help.
We were able to identify the remains in the carpet as that of the girl, Karen Price, from Cardiff.
Hey, I knew her.
He started talking about the programme during the programme, but I was so intensified on the programme, I didn't want to miss any part of the programme, especially when it was on a girl in Cardiff, my own town. I mean, I just wanted to see what this case was all about.
I used to hang around with her.
Detectives are very anxious for any help they can
Did you?
get from anyone who knew Karen or thinks they might have met
Did you know about her then?
I just knew some of her friends. Nothing important.
What do you mean, nothing important? Instead of desperate for any info, you should ring in.
Yeah, give him a ring. And she'd done so several times. She often came.
Nah, leave it.
There's no doubt that she did frequent.
Right, I'll ring in for you. I won't give him any names.
And without doubt, somebody there must have known her and also knows her movements at this time.
Well, if you befriended her then, you might be a real friend now and ring in. These are the sort of clothes you think she was wearing.
A sort of grey sweatshirt, and these very distinctive. These jeans.
Yes, you're right again. They're Carmen gear make, which is rather unusual. But we're absolutely sure that she was wearing an identical pair of jeans when she was buried in the ground.
OK, that house again, 27 to 29 Fitzhamon Embankment.
Wind up, Nick.
Which is the place
Wind
where
up.
you think she might have been staying. We're not sure about that. We need to know anyone else who was staying there.
Here's the number, 018.
Come on, Idris, they need more names.
I remember we're talking about is summer.
It's a long time ago, I can't remember.
One in particular. 01811.
Come on. As I said, if you're a friend of hers then, be a friend of hers now.
Go on, Idris, try and think.
Come on, think hard.
Michael.
Right.
People already reaching for the phones, I'm sure.
I'll give another ring, but keep thinking.
Who are hesitating. A bit worried that if they ring in, they're going to catapult themselves into
Well, I rang earlier about Karen Price.
regarded as suspects. I would like
No, I'm not giving any names.
they would be purely treated as friendly witnesses.
No, just call me Garfield then. Yeah. Right, well, I've asked my mate, and he knows someone called Michael she hung around with. Right. No, that's all I've got. Bye.
And mix.
9, 8, 7.
And change.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, takes away network. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Michaela. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Thanks, Barry.
Paul?
Yes, sir.
What sort of response have we had?
Very good. I just contacted the incident room and we were well over 60 calls.
That's great, but Michael's not enough. They want more names.
Get them to come over now and I give them some more names.
The third time I ran, they said they were willing to come down. So, you know, I said to Idris, if, you know, they'll come and visit you, or if you want to, you know, do you want to see them, you can do. I assured him that, you know, I'd be there. It certainly wouldn't be just him and them on their own. And after all, we only thought there was, you know, information regarding the people that she was having round with that they really, you know, that they really wanted.
I wanted you to call into the police station today to take a statement off you, reference what you told me about Karen Price last night. I want you to tell me everything that you knew about her.
Yeah, we used to go to school together.
Where was that?
Green Hill.
And when?
78, 12 years ago.
12 years ago. A long time ago. Do you see her after that?
I saw her again in July, 81.
July 81. Where was that?
Cemetery Park.
Is that the Cemetery Park in Adamstown, Cardiff?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you recognise her straight off?
Yeah.
Who was she with?
She was with her friends.
She was with her friends. All right. I want to go into detail now about that time in Cemetery Park. All right.
We found Ali to be a very interesting character. He knew a lot about Karen. We treated him as a witness because of his knowledge and the information that he had. In fact, we spoke to him over a period of 4 days, and in that time, we linked him with Alison. We therefore brought her back in to be re-interviewed.
Hi, Alison. We need to ask you some more questions. If you can come back to the station with us.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
Well, is it going to take long?
It shouldn't take that long.
Well, I'm not ready. You better come in.
Okay. The reason I brought you back in, Alison, is because I want to speak to you in a little more detail about your friends and get some more information about where you went and who you met. I want to ask you firstly about Idris Ali. How well did you know Idris?
I knew him from hanging around Big Asties and the bus station. We all used to hang around there, so I suppose I'd known him for about a year or so. It was just someone I knew, like the rest of the gang. He was always there.
Was he ever your boyfriend?
No.
What about Karen? How well did you know Karen?
He knew Karen quite well. I think at one time that they had a bit of a thing going.
Did you ever go to the XL with him?
Yeah.
Who else did you meet at the XL?
I'd meet Karen. She was there. Lots of other people. And Alan Charlton.
Alan Charlton.
Alan Charlton was a name that seemed to mean something to Alison. He'd worked at the XL as a doorman, and he'd lived at number 29 Fitzhamon Embankment in the summer of 1981.
John? We've made a few inquiries, and there's certain things and people you've been holding back on us. You understand? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And in particular, Alan Charlton. It's obvious you know Alan Charlton. We've checked. When did you meet him?
I met him in the Addy.
The Adamstown Public House? Yeah. When was that?
It was, July 81.
And what do you talk about?
Talked about my business.
And what business is that?
He was asking me how I was making my living.
How do you make your living?
I was running some girls.
Girls? How many?
Karen and Alison.
Pimping? You were pimping off them?
Yeah.
Were they the only two girls you were running?
Yeah.
Were they with you when you met Alan Charlton in the Addy?
Yeah, Karen was there.
Karen was with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you met him in the Addy one day?
Yeah.
So did you meet him again?
Yeah, I met him at the Axel.
Was Karen there?
Yeah.
And what did you talk about there?
He wanted to know if we went to blue parties.
You wanted to know if you went to blue parties?
Yeah.
And what did you tell him?
I said never been.
You said you'd never been?
No.
No? So what did he want?
He wants to know if I could supply the girls for his party.
Idris, are you telling us the truth?
I'm telling the truth.
So everything you've told us so far is the truth?
Yeah.
I was together with Karen and Idris Ali outside Big Asties about 8 o'clock. And then Alan came to join us. And after about 20 minutes, he said we should go to his house, his flat.
Won't come around my place.
Well, what do you think? Yeah?
Yeah, all right.
All right, then.
Okay, thanks.
Off you go.
I don't know how long we'd been there before Alan, said that me and Karen should get into bed naked so they could take photographs of us. I said no, refused, and he slapped me across the face. So Karen shouted at him to lay off, to get off me. And then he started on her. He slapped her and punched her. He went berserk. And then when he stopped, I went over to Karen and she was on the floor. And I saw a small trickle of blood from her mouth.
Idris, you were saying these parties in the basement, they're Blue Movies parties.
Yeah. I said if I supply the girls, I'll make quite a lot of money out of it.
So you were making money from the parties in the basement?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I think, Idris, we ought to get it done in writing now, everything that you've told us. Okay? We'll take a statement from you. And you can put it all down, everything that you've told us. Okay?
Everything I've told you is true. But I want to say I did help Charlton. He's a psycho man.
Idris, you realise you do not have to say anything unless you wish to do so. But what you say may be given in evidence.
You telling us the truth, Idris?
Yeah.
All of it?
Yeah.
Did you help him?
Yeah.
Right, it's crunch time, Chris. What have you now got on Alison?
Well, Alison now admits knowing both Ali and Charlton and to being present in the flat at Fitzsalmon Embankment when Ali and Charlton murdered Karen.
Come in.
Les?
He's coughed, boss. He's having everything. He admits being there. Charlton, Ali, and Alison, they were all in the room together, and they did it between them.
I think that's tremendous. Well done. Now arrest him and detain him in connection with Karen's murder, please. And then will you also pass over to Stewart that we now know enough about Charlton to implicate him in the murder, and therefore he's got to be brought back and arrested and brought to Cardiff.
There he is.
Mr. Charlton, we've come here today to arrest you for the murder of Karen Price in July 1981. You're not obliged to say anything unless you wish to do so. What you say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
I do.
You have been arrested this evening for the murder of Karen Price, whose body was found in your back garden. I want to be sure, before we start, that you fully understand that, Mr. Charlton.
I do.
Do you admit any part in her killing?
No. I admit no part in her killing, and I deny it completely.
I'm now going to show you 3 photographs of Karen Price. I want you to look at them carefully. It's 9 years ago. That girl was found buried in your back garden. Do you know her?
No. I categorically do not know that girl.
Okay, so it's 4 days later. You've gone back there and you think he's in the garden.
Yeah, that's right. Probably took a long time answering the door. He asked me to help him dig.
Is that what he was doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what time of the day is this?
In the afternoon. Yeah. If anybody was watching, they think we were doing some gardening.
Was he digging a hole, or was he just turning the garden over?
Just digging a hole.
Did you help him?
Yeah.
Did he force you to do that, or did you volunteer to help him?
I just did it. That's right. Scared of him.
Dealing with the flat in particular, and especially the carpet, can you describe it?
As far as I can recollect, it was a multicoloured carpet. I think it was squared in pattern, but not entirely sure.
Do you recall at any time seeing an offcut of that carpet, perhaps hidden in the cupboard under the stairs?
Well, as for the cupboard under the stairs, I only use that for rubbish and things. I never really went in there. And answer to your question, no. I never saw any offcuts.
During the time you lived at the basement flat, during that time, can you tell me if you did any digging in the garden?
Not to my knowledge.
We interviewed Alan Charlton over long periods of time. However, he repeatedly denied knowing Karen. We did have evidence available to us from other witnesses that they had been seen together.
I'm now going to show you a photograph of a young girl called Alison. That photograph was taken, we think, 9 years ago. Look at her carefully. Do you know her?
Not to my knowledge. No, I've never met that girl.
But a friend of Alison's had vital evidence to the contrary. Again, as with all the witnesses, we're protecting her identity, although their words are taken directly from statements.
Alison had shown me a house in Fitzhamon Embankment where a friend Alan lived. She told me she'd been there before.
Would you like to turn and face the screen, walk along the line at least twice, and take as much time as you wish?
From behind a one-way mirror, the witness was asked to identify the man she'd seen with Alison in 1981.
This person is the Alan I saw Alison talking to on several occasions in July 1981. Even though this person has changed since I last saw him, I still recognised him immediately. It's number 4.
Again, I'm going to show you a photograph of a man called Idris Ali. This photograph was taken recently. Look at him. Do you know that man?
To my knowledge, I have never met that person.
I was a waitress at the Excel in Caroline Street. It seemed to me that Idris Ali and Alan Charlton knew each other, because I remember them talking together at the Excel. The impression I got was that they were friendly with each other.
There was a bouncer who worked at clubs in the city centre. I saw him with Idris Ali walking along Wood Street. This happened on several occasions. and they would have either been walking into the city centre or towards Tudor Road.
Would you like to walk along the line at least twice and take as much time as you wish?
I picked out Alan Charlton. He used to hang around the Central Railway Station and with Idris Ali. I also knew him from the Xanadu in Excel in Caroline Street. It was number 11.
Thank you.
Finally, and I want you to think very carefully about this question. Did you murder Karen Price because her body was found in a grave in your back garden?
I'm telling you strictly no. I deny all knowledge of this murder and of any parties and of knowing Idris Ali or this girl. Alison?
On the 25th of February 1990, police were ready to conclude the investigation and bring charges. It marked the end of a long ordeal for Alison, whose fear had kept her silent for nearly 9 years. As the leading witness for the prosecution, no charges were brought against her.
Alan Charlton, Idris Ali, you are both charged together for the you at Cardiff between the 1st of July 1981 and the 1st of May 1982 did murder Karen Price against the peace of our sovereign lady the Queen, her crown and dignity. You do not have to say anything unless you wish to do so, but what you say may be given in evidence.
I certainly don't know this person, and I certainly deny the charge.
Alan Charlton and Idris Ali, you have both been convicted of the appalling murder of a 15-year-old girl 9.5 years ago. You have been convicted on overwhelming evidence. You, Alan Charlton, were 21 at the time, and you, Idris Ali, were 16. Because of the passage of years and the numerous lies that both of you told, it will probably never be known precisely what the sequence of events was which led to this girl's murder. But clearly, you both took part in it. I am sure that your part, Alan Charlton, was the major role. The sentences which I pass are those which are prescribed by law. In your case, Alan Charlton, it is imprisonment for life. In your case, Idris Ali, you will be detained during Her Majesty's pleasure.